The following is a special report from Los Angeles.
And take two.
Welcome back, Kings fans. You're watching the Royal Half Radio Postgame Show with your host, Jesse Cohen.
Simmons and Martinez work it free to Williams, who sends it out to Jack Johnson. Along the blue line, Jack Johnson with it. Johnson across for Williams. Williams holding. Up high to Johnson. Johnson back to Williams. To Johnson. To Williams. One-timer block. Martinez scores! Alec Martinez, his first NHL goal.
Welcome back, Kings fans. I'm Jesse Cohen. This is the Royal Half Radio postgame show. The audio you just heard was obviously Alec Martinez scoring his first NHL goal. I am here high above the ice at Crypto.com Arena. Just come back from the Jim Hiller media availability following the Kings' 2-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators, the second regulation win here on home ice. Not going to lie, it was nice to get one, although I've seen prettier wins, I'm not going to lie. There is a fan event out on the ice right now. You know what, I'm just going to turn the camera around so you can see it. Oh, that's all. Well, you can see. Anyway, the point is there's going to be some background noise. I apologize about that. Okay, Kings win 2-1. Goals from Brant Clark and Warren Fogle in the third period in what was otherwise, I felt, kind of a boring game. I'm glad they got the win, and I'm glad they scored a power play goal, but that was not a work of art, to say the least, which is fine. 2 points count. I'd rather have the 2 points than not have the 2 points. Home regulation win, a power play goal, and the groins are hella. Yes, I mentioned on the Kings Discord that if Ottawa scored a shorthanded goal, I was going to do something terrible. So didn't happen. Everybody's safe. That was a roller coaster of a game for me. I just thought it was really kind of dull through the first two periods, which is fine, so long as you can score enough to wind up with a win, and the Kings did. So that's fine. I've said it before. I will continue to say it. Give me boring wins all day long, but they've got to be wins, and this one was looking a little dodgy at times. There were multiple times during the game, I think in the second period primarily, where you could hear the crowd booing. Now, that was mostly on the power play. Obviously, people didn't know at the time that the Kings would go on to score a power play goal. Brant Clark getting his third of the season from Edmondson and Perry. That was the game-winning goal. But, yeah, it was I don't even know what to say. Jody says, woohoo. Appreciate the woohoo, Jody. A Kings win in regulation and a power play goal. Nelly says, I know you have post-game stuff to do after the game ends, but I got to tell you, I appreciate that, Nelly. Listen, the options are I can start this immediately following the game and not have Jim Hiller video, or I can go downstairs and do it. And I'm not married to one or the other. We can, it's all a work in progress. We can figure it out. Speaking of which, I'm going to send the Jim Hiller video directly to my laptop from my phone, and as soon as it uploads, we will just play it here on the postgame show, because Jim Hiller did speak to the media, and I thought Jim Hiller was honest. Not that he isn't usually, but, well, you'll see what he had to say in a few seconds here when it finishes loading. And yes, Jody, stop the 5-forward power play. Agreed. I went to practice this weekend. I guess it was on Sunday. Saturday? Oh, whatever. Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. Went to Sunday practice, recorded something in the morning with Jim Fox and John Kelly, and thought certainly when we got to practice there would be no 5-forward power play, and yet there it was. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and give you Jim Hiller, because that is the entire point of the going down there and grabbing it. So here's Jim Hiller, who spoke to the media immediately following this game.
Jim, how satisfying is it to win a home game with a power play goal?
Well, we probably won a few more if we'd had one or two in some of those other games. The game to me is very similar to probably about 5 of them here that we've had that maybe we've come out short by a goal. Like, you could be talking about, man, he didn't get the goal and it was a hard-fought game and what's wrong. And when the puck goes in, now we're celebrating the result. So that's how important it is. I mean, the power play at 5-on-5, it is tough to get anything going on out there for both teams, and the special teams are critical. So look at our penalty kill has been really good, right? They've got an excellent power play. So our penalty kill, And special teams makes a difference.
Jim, we've talked a lot about the power play. How satisfying was it to see the things that you spoke about over the last couple of days, pucks to the net, bodies to the net, result in the game-winning goal?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that we were particularly sharp. They killed really well, but it only takes one good play, right? And sometimes, it comes at the very end. So really, really good play on the entry. Clarkie's got it, unloads, and here we are, happy.
Is this one of those games where Darcy really would steal the show and deserve more credit, but instead we're talking about the power play and so many other things?
Yeah, no, I mean, Darcy played really well. I thought Merrilainen played really well, so I thought both goalies were good. We're pretty used to Darcy being our backbone, and so for us, it's just kind of what we expect. We expect him to be good, to give us a chance. Forsey's done the same thing for us. But again, I don't want to discount how Merrilainen played. I thought, Kempe had 2 or 3 really good looks in the first period, made a couple saves in the second. And that's where Kemper had to be good in the second. The third period, we did a really good job. He didn't have much high danger.
Jim, Warren Foegele was such a key offensive piece for this team last year. I know it was just a drive the net goal there, but is that one that can maybe get him going a little bit and get him back to where he was for you guys last year?
Yeah, I sure hope so. He penalty killed really well, too. He was important there. I thought, Fogues got the goal. I thought the 2 players who really jumped out at me tonight were Fogues and Phil Deneau. I thought those guys really had impactful games. Penalty kill, playing against Stutzel's line. We had a tough time in the face-off circle. Phil was in there in the end, some big wins. So those 2 players in particular, who would tell you they haven't probably felt as good about their game as they'd like to, they were really important for us tonight.
You made a few changes in the lineup, obviously defense, and then with some of the line combos. Is there anything that you've liked that you're seeing?
Well, I like when we win. I mean, this is such a hard game. Like, you probably don't have many guys, and I would say, again, I'm careful to tell you that we lose a game in overtime, we lose in a shootout, and that it was a whole bunch different than tonight's game was. For me, they were very, very similar. So I'm careful not to just celebrate this so much and say we played so well tonight. No, we've played pretty well. We got on the right side of it finally. That's important because we are in a results-driven business. I do understand that, but I'm maybe not as down or low on the team at different times because I know they're trying and they're playing hard and we're close, and that's probably the way it's going to be the rest of the way. It's a tight league this year.
Jim, Jordan Spence makes his return to LA today, so I having a nice chat with him in the hallway. He was a trusted player for 2 years, and it seemed to kind of turn abruptly in the playoffs and going into the offseason. What was it, a situation where he lost some trust, or you guys were looking for a different fit? What exactly happened there in your mind?
Yeah, I love Spenny. It's great to see him. He is he's one of those guys that brings a lot of life and energy to the locker room. So everybody, we all shared a lot of laughs with him. But he's over in Ottawa now, and he's their player. And we wish him well. So I'm not going to talk about anything beyond that outside of how much I miss being around him because he was the guy that made a lot of people laugh.
All right, that was Jim Hiller talking to the media following the game, and I let it play through that last answer because I felt like, well, let's go ahead and dig into it. The last question was from Andrew Knoll. I talk to Andrew pretty regularly, so I don't think he'll mind me tossing him under the bus slightly here, but that's exactly the kind of example of a question that I talk about frequently, where I say these press availabilities are a team sport. And I could have told you as soon as Andrew was halfway through that question that the answer was not going to be a real answer, right? Andrew's question was what happened in the summer, why, personnel decisions, et cetera, et cetera. And the answer that we got was, listen, we love Jordan Spence. We wish him the best. I'm not going to get into it right now. And that's why I've said in the past, there's a question of timing. If you really needed an answer to that question, then that's when you show up to a practice or a media avail, a quarter season check-in with like Andrew was there when Ken Holland spoke to the media. Like that's listen, Andrew knows a lot more about it than I do. He's got more experience than I do. But for me personally, that's where I just say, like, there's a time and a place for those kinds of questions, and that kind of question is I don't know. There was this close to 0% chance we were going to get a serious answer to that question. Comment says 2 second unit scores with Clark. Maybe start with them first because the first unit isn't doing anything, or put Clark on the first. Yeah. No, listen, the power play scored. It was a second unit goal from Brant Clark, and I mentioned the boos in the second period. They were in response to the power play. And, yes, they got a power play goal, but Ottawa also still got some good looks on the power play or on the penalty kill in the second period. At one point, I felt like Ottawa was cherry picking on the penalty kill. Like, they were just leaving one guy back. They were killing with three guys and leaving one guy high on the attacking blue line because it just felt to me like they were confident they could get a turnover in the defending zone and then just send it. It just really felt like Ottawa was not taking the Kings' top power play unit seriously. So it worked out tonight, and I don't want to, yuck the yum of a home ice win because it's only the second time it's happened. And, as Jim Hiller said, it's a tight league this year. It's a weird year. I'm glad this game didn't go to overtime. But not everything was solved tonight. The power play, I would argue, still needs tremendous amounts of work. They got a goal, so it worked out. It's fine. But Taylor says, I like what he said about those games being close and that impacting making changes to the lineup. Close, but not necessarily warranting blowing it up, just a perpetual shrug fest on what to do. Fogle spoke to the media after the game, and Fogle reiterated something that Jim Hiller has been saying, which is they obviously have faith in the system. Because they're playing it, right? Like, there's always questions about, did the coach lose the room or whatever? And for me personally, the way you judge whether or not a coach has lost the room is whether or not the players are doing what the coach wants them to do. Now, if you want to quibble over whether or not you personally believe that Jim Hiller is telling them to do the correct thing, that's between you and your hockey gods. I'm not going to get in that conversation. But the LA Kings are doing what Jim Hiller tells them to do. That much is clear. And it's one of the reasons I had a bit of a problem with the answers given to the media after last year's playoff series. The coach obviously has the room. The coach obviously has the admiration and the respect of the players. And there's whatever. But I don't believe for 1 second that the coach has lost the room. Chef Boyardee says Hiller's inability to roll four lines will be his downfall again. I've said it before, I will say it again. That's the problem with being in a position like the Kings find themselves in right now. The regular season right now only matters insofar as, it is how you make the playoffs. If the Kings make the playoffs, I don't care how many points they have. Doesn't matter. What do they do in the first round? And it might not be Edmonton again, but if they lose in the first round to Colorado or Vegas or God help us, Anaheim. I don't think I can take that. Shame on me for putting it out into the universe. Then the regular season doesn't matter. Then we're just talking about 5 years in a row. If they win in the first round, well then, the 82 game lead up to it becomes, a much nicer story. So going back in the comments, Taylor says, no, the power play solved. Just put power play 2 on the whole time. I mean, if only. Joel Edmondson putting together a pretty decent year. Joel Edmondson is having a decent year to follow up his decent year last year. Was the Turcotte bench just trying to get Sammy a start or a scratch for a reason? I believe, Tommy, John, that was just to get Sammy Helenius in the line. I know that Jim Hiller talked about the benefit of that line, Helenius, Fogle, and Perry, and I believe the word he used smash mouth, but I don't think that Turcotte did anything particularly negative or bad to get himself out of the lineup. I think it's just you can't have these kids sit for 30 games without getting into a game. So even though Helenius only played 3 minutes and 25 seconds tonight, Perry played 8 minutes, Helenius played 3:25, Mufarari played 11 minutes and 8 seconds, Kuzmenko played 13:41. Yeah, I believe that was the cause of that change. And Old Wolf says, Jesse, why would you? I know, I'm sorry. I apologize for mentioning the possibility of a first round matchup between the two Southern California teams. That's on me. Going to the comment section on the text line, 323-628-1008. We have one from the 360 area code. It says, Amazon Monday Night Hockey is homeristic for the Canadian team, or at least it was tonight. Wasn't watching. I wasn't even aware it was happening until I was taking a lap around the concourse before the game and I saw the set. saw Chris Pronger there. I realized it was happening, but yeah, wasn't able to watch, so I can't comment as far as the homeristic nature of that broadcast. Sorry, let me mute my phone and turn off my email here. From the 760, hey Jesse, Jacob here, not the one who's been giving you trouble. Was at the game. Was nice to see Kuzmenko really going after it. Looked like he really wanted it tonight. I think Bearingwood could really get him going. Shout out to the coloring book posters tonight, by the way. Yeah, no, listen, it was kids' night tonight at the game. It's probably why it was an early start. Thanksgiving break, obviously, so kids likely don't have school, but a little early start so parents could, get home, put the kids to bed, and also there's, like I said, there's some event out there. I see a bunch of kids skating out there on Crypto.com Arena Ice. I almost said Staples Center Ice. But yeah, Kuzmenko did look good, and we spoke to Kuzmenko after practice on Sunday, and he spoke about knowing what Jim Hiller wanted out of him, and Hiller knew what Kuzmenko wanted out of the situation. So yeah, I thought the more Kuzmenko-Kopitar line looked better tonight than it did in previous outings. I thought Moore looked like he had fresh legs. I thought Kuzmenko looked good. I don't have anything to nitpick in this game other than the power play, which didn't look great. I was personally, and I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, I was bored. And that to me is just like the greatest sin of all, is that like if I'm watching it and nothing's happening and it's 0-0 into the third period, I don't know. I don't personally like it. Old Wolf wants to know, do you think the Thanksgiving line is less of an indicator this year, given there's 4 points between the top 6 teams in the Pacific? You know what? It's funny, Old Wolf. I was talking to Jim Fox and John Kelly about this, I think, over the weekend. And talking the Thanksgiving line, for anybody who might not understand the reference, is that, once Thanksgiving rolls around, there's some stat, and it sort of changes from year to year, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 76 to 80% of teams that find themselves in a playoff spot at Thanksgiving will finish the season in Thanksgiving. And so, for example, tonight, with the Kings win, I imagine they probably find themselves moving up in the Pacific Division. Let's go ahead and take a look. They are currently tied for second place in the Pacific Division, 1 point out of the division lead. So, statistically speaking, they have a decent shot of making the playoffs, but given how tightly wound, is that the right? Tightly contested the standings are this year, the question is, will that be an indicator? What I want to know, and there's no way to answer it today, I want to look at the end of the season and see, okay, the teams that were in a playoff spot that just missed, right? The teams that slip a little bit from Thanksgiving to the end of the season, or vice versa, the teams that climb up from out of a playoff spot into a playoff spot. What's the margin of difference once the season's over? Because that's going to be the interesting part. It doesn't feel like the season can be this close the whole 82 game stretch. Like, there's 1 point separating the Anaheim Ducks from the first to third place. Then there's 2 points separating the Ducks from the Golden Knights, and there's 4 points separating the Ducks from out of a playoff spot. It's 29 points to lead the division. 25 points. The Sharks are in third place in the wild card standings, and Nashville and Calgary, I would say, not even Calgary. Nashville's the only team that's out of it, like actually out of it to me. Anyway, Freddie says 5 key takeaways. Jody says happy Thanksgiving. She's taken off. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Jody. Thank you for the woohoo. Appreciate it. Clark must be power play 1. I agree, and I think he will be personally. The team is extremely weak, 31st in league in hits. Laugh leads the team. I'm less concerned about that, but it's interesting. I would also love to see the Oilers miss the playoffs, Jody. Freddie says, number 3, getting worked lately 5-on-5, out-muscled by San Jose, Boston, and Ottawa. Again, I know that some people care about hits and physicality and that sort of thing. I only care insofar as much as it leads to results. And as long as the Kings are winning and the Kings are excellent defensively, which they are, I'm not entirely sure what increasing physicality brings. Even as I say that, I guess you could wear down your opponent, which might make them less likely to defend you harder, which might increase your offense. So, all right, fair point. Armia is really good, is Freddie's 4th point. Agreed, Armia is really good. And 5, Fiala, MIA, 0 shots on goal the last 2 games. Well, listen, Fiala, I felt that Alex Laferriere, Quentin Byfield, and Kevin Fiala were really rounding into form when they split that lineup. I'm not entirely sure I understand the thought process behind it. But yeah, it might take a while for Kevin Fiala, Adrian Kempe, and Quentin Byfield to gel together. It's three guys who can skate and carry the puck. And I think sometimes maybe it might be difficult to decide whose turn it is to carry the puck. And then on top of that, you have the question of who, if all three guys are going to go barreling into the zone at full speed, who's going to be defensively responsible? So we'll have to see how that goes. Old Wolf says it'll make the trade deadline interesting if there are less sell teams. Yeah, maybe. Like I said, I just don't think the standings can remain this bunched up. I think somebody said there's a bigger gap between tops in the league and 17th place than there is between 17th and 21st or something like that. I don't remember. But you know what? Now that I said it out loud, I feel compelled to check it. Okay, so the Colorado Avalanche have 37 points. Carolina Hurricanes have 30 points. They're in second place, tied with Dallas Stars. So there's 7 points separating Carolina and Dallas. And if we take 7 points from second place, okay, so this is what it was. There's a bigger gap between first place and second place than there is between second place and 24th place. So that's kind of actually 26th place because the New York Rangers, Chicago Blackhawks, and Winnipeg Jets are all tied with 24 points for 25th, 26th, and 24th. So yeah, there's a bigger gap between first and second than there is between second and 24th. So that's what it is. There's one really good team this year. It's Colorado. There's one team that appears to be really struggling. That's Nashville. And then Calgary and Vancouver and St. Louis are sort of, and Toronto are going through it. And then everybody else is kind of in it. And I don't know what to make of that. It's weird. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. Hiller was just talking about league parity or parity, because I don't think he was talking about a parody of the league. But yes, Ken Holland and Jim Hiller both spoke extensively about how tight it is, and I think 30% of games are going to overtime this year. I've seen a lot of talk on different forums about abandoning the point system or changing the point system and going to 3 points for a win, 2 points for overtime wins, 1 point for I don't bring back ties. That's my answer. Anyway, going back to the comments on the text line again, 323-628-1008. Spencer in Japan. Jesse was at the game tonight. Well, how were you at the game tonight if you were in Japan? Good win, but I was kind of honestly hoping Spence got a goal. He looked good. Wish we had him still. Listen, I've said it before. I'll say it again. There are people out there who like Jordan Spence. You don't like him more than I do. You just don't, because I'm crazy about Jordan Spence, and I'm not trying to win some sort of fan contest or anything. I think the world of Jordan Spence, it's a hill I'm prepared to die on. I think he's underrated by every team in the league, particularly the team he's currently on. And I'll fight you on it if you want, if you can find me and reach me. So yes, I hoped Jordan Spence had a good game. Hi, Jesse. Is there a stat on how many times the Kings have scored during the McFlurry minute in their history? I'm sure there is. I don't have the slightest idea how to find it. I'm positive somebody tracks that. I don't know how to find it without going through. I guess you could look at goals by period, and then I don't know. Somebody probably has kept track, but like I said, I have no idea how to find that. Steve from Orlando says, sorry, I'm going back through some of this old text. Steve from Orlando here. The Kings win at home. Send Jody a woohoo from me. I'm sick and about to enter a NyQuil coma. Good night. Okay, sorry, Steve. I read yours last, even though it was the first to come in. Apologies. So yeah, Jody, if you're listening, Steve from Orlando says woohoo, and we get a woohoo from Jody. Didn't have a lot of prep today for the Ottawa game in terms of trivia and Molson Index stuff, because we just played them. They just played them, not too long ago. So obviously all the players are still the same. Cody Ceci, Jordan Spence. Curtis McDermott not in the lineup tonight. Michael Amadio, I think he was, right? Was Amadio in the lineup? I thought I heard his name a couple times. Michael Amadio playing for Ottawa, played 15 minutes and 59 seconds. Former King. So we know all that. And name the date and location. Oh, sorry, Spencer. So yeah, it is Thanksgiving week. And I do want to talk about it. briefly because I am quite fond of Thanksgiving. And I'm going to a friend's house, as I have gone to for the last few years. Both my parents live out of state, and I don't like traveling that much. So going to a friend's house, I shouldn't say I don't like traveling. I love traveling. I just don't like traveling to those states. But anyway, the point is Thanksgiving is coming up, and it's been a tough year for me, but also a really fun year, as crazy as that sounds. And so I did just kind of want to thank everybody for coming along with me on this ride, because I wasn't sure when I started this what it was going to look like. I wasn't sure anybody was going to be coming along with me. But I feel really good about it, and I feel like it's turned into something that I didn't anticipate. I'm pretty happy with where it's going. We're not done yet. Still early, still a work in progress. But yeah, so thanks, everybody, for making me feel like it was worth it to even attempt this, because it's been fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you. I know I get a lot of positive comments, and I can see how many people are watching at any given moment. So I can see that there's plenty of you out there right now. So yeah, just wanted to say thanks, because we won't do this again until Friday when the Kings play the Ducks. And I think that's probably going to wrap it up, because this, like I said, repeatedly, for me, this is kind of a boring game. Kings win. That's lovely. Thankful for a home ice win. And also, man, the Kings don't have a game till Friday. Could you imagine what a bummer it would be if they lost this game, to just then have to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with nothing to talk about but a loss? Instead, we have a win, and a win on home ice. And then they play the Ducks on Friday. And gosh, I mean, they play the Ducks on Friday. I don't know what the Ducks' schedule is, but let me just see if I can look it up real quick here, because that game, you know, obviously it's too early for it to be tremendously important, but the Ducks have a game on Wednesday against Vancouver, and then they play the Kings on Friday. The Kings don't have a game until Friday against the Ducks. That game could theoretically be for first place in the division. And, you know, I have said recently, I can't remember if I said it on camera when I was talking to Jim and John or not, but I think part of the reason this season is tough as a Kings fan, for me anyway, is that the Ducks are the team in first place. If the Kings were tied for second place and sort of up and down, and the power play wasn't working and things were going wonky, you know, who knows what's going on, and the team in first place was Edmonton or Vegas, I think it would be like, oh, okay, well, that's okay, fine, whatever. And if the Ducks were in last place, it would feel familiar. The fact that Anaheim's in first place doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and we've been hearing for a few years now that they're on the rise. And then you have Edmonton out there lurking, where you know with the talent they have and the history they have of making late season pushes. And Vegas obviously has a track record of success. It just feels like, oh, well, maybe if Anaheim is for real, there's one less spot up for grabs. And that makes it a lot. That is, first of all, it's not familiar. Second of all, it's Anaheim, you know, which is no fun for anybody who loves the Kings, because it's the Ducks. But yeah, so I just think that's part of it. Maybe not consciously part of it, but I just think in the back of my mind anyway. It's like anytime I look at the standings and see Anaheim, it's like, oh yeah, the friggin' Ducks are part of this conversation now. And you have to look at it and you say, okay, well, the standings, you know, Kings are tied for second, but it's like they're tied with Seattle for second. So that's the issue for me, is that if you look at the Western Conference standings, in the Pacific Division, it's Anaheim, Seattle, LA. We won't worry about the Central, because Colorado, Dallas, you know, are off. You know, they're okay, fine, they're good, great. We knew that was going to happen. Vegas is behind the Kings by 1 point. Edmonton is behind the Kings by 2 points, and Winnipeg is not in a playoff spot currently. And so you figure, okay, Winnipeg and Edmonton and Vegas will probably figure it out. There's too much talent for them not to figure it out. Then the question becomes, are Utah, San Jose, Seattle, and Anaheim going to be parts of this conversation moving forward? And if they are, all of a sudden we find ourselves in a new conversation that hasn't existed for the last 2 or 3 years. And that's when I get nervous as a fan, is when all of a sudden the conversation shifts and you have to start reestablishing expectations across the board. So anyway, that's weird. No Hellebuck will hurt the Jets for a bit. That is correct. It definitely will. And, you know, I still don't believe that the Ducks will last. I've seen this movie before. There have been seasons where the Ducks were in first place as late as like December, and then they fell off. Now, I could be wrong. Lord knows I've been wrong before, especially with teams with, track records. When Detroit was making the playoffs for however many decades in a row, every year I would just say, listen, until they don't make the playoffs, I'm assuming Detroit makes the playoffs. Now they haven't made the playoffs in I don't know how many years. That's the new. So normals change, and they change fast. To answer Nelly's question, am I going to Anaheim on Friday? I don't know yet. I'm torn. Part of me wants to say no so that I can have the post-game show start immediately after the Ducks game. It's a road game. It's easier for me to do that, to just stay home, watch it on TV, and start the post-game show immediately. Part of me feels like it's so close, it would be lazy and irresponsible of me not to go. So, I don't know. I'll let you guys decide if you want. You can text me 323-628-1008 or hit me up on social media, whatever. If you want me to go, if you think I should, if you want me to capture post-game video of Jim Hiller, think about it. But if you'd rather have the show start immediately, I'm all ears. So a lot of this is a work in progress. Oh, apparently Old Wolf thinks I'm going. I will find out. I don't know. I mean, Anaheim's very close. It's not hard to get to. And my attitude is always, it feels like I've been given such an incredible opportunity to participate in all of this. I always feel like I'm wasting an opportunity if I don't go. If there's a rain game on a weekend and I'm not doing anything, as much of a pain in the butt as it is to drive out to Ontario, I always feel like, well, I feel the same way about, if you get invited to a party, every third time you get an invite to something, I feel like you have to say yes. Otherwise, the invites stop coming, because that's just how life works. So anyway, we'll see. I've got a yes and a no, so decisions will be made. Anyway, again, thanks, everybody. I hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. I love the food. Had a conversation with Zach Dooley about the cornerstones of any Thanksgiving plate. For me, you have to have turkey, mashed potatoes, and pumpkin pie. Otherwise, and cranberry sauce. If you don't have those four things, then it's not Thanksgiving. Now, green bean casserole, stuffing, whatever. Anyway, not going to get into it now. I'm just going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Thanks for watching, and go Kings go. Second home win on home ice this season.
We do the best we can, but thanks for watching.
So thank you, guys. We love you, and we will see you on Friday.
Who are they playing?
Do you like ducks?
We hate the Ducks.
When is it on?
November 28th.
The day after Thanksgiving.
At 1 p.m.
Live from the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California.